I never planned to fall in love with my best friend's brother. For years, I went to her house almost every weekend. We laughed, studied together, watched movies. And he was always there. At first, he was just her annoying older brother. But slowly, something changed. Every time he walked into the room, my heart started racing. Every small smile he gave me meant more than it should have. The worst part no one knew. Not my best friend. Not him. No one. Because how do you tell your best friend that the person you secretly dream about every night is her brother, and everything stayed hidden? Until that one night, when something happened between us that changed all of our lives forever. I still remember the first time I met him. I was 15 years old, nervous, and standing outside my new best friend's house for the first time. Her name was Emily, and we had just started high school together a few weeks earlier. She had invited me over to study for a history test. I remember fixing my hair in the reflection of the doorbell camera before pressing the button. My heart was beating fast for no real reason. Maybe because I was still new in town, still trying to find my place. The door opened a few seconds later. But it wasn't Emily who opened it. It was him. Tall. Slightly messy dark hair. Calm eyes that looked at me with mild curiosity. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then he said, "You must be Emily's new friend." His voice was deeper than I expected. I nodded quickly. "Yeah. I'm Sarah." He stepped aside to let me in. "Emily's upstairs," he said casually. I walked inside, trying not to look awkward, but I could feel my cheeks getting warm for some reason I didn't understand yet. At that moment, he was just Emily's older brother. Nothing more. At least, that's what I told myself. Over the next few months, Emily and I became inseparable. Sleepovers. Study sessions. Movie nights. I was at her house almost every weekend. And every time I went there, he was there too. His name was Daniel. Daniel was 2 years older than us. He was already a senior while we were still trying to survive sophomore year. At first, he barely paid attention to me. He would walk into the kitchen, grab something from the fridge, and leave without saying much. Sometimes he would tease Emily like brothers usually do. "Why are you two always screaming during movies?" he'd complain from the hallway. Emily would throw popcorn at him. I would just laugh. Back then, everything felt simple. But slowly, things started to change. The first time I noticed it was during one of our movie nights. Emily had fallen asleep halfway through the film. Typical Emily. The living room lights were dim, and the TV was still playing quietly. I was about to wake her up when I heard footsteps behind me. Daniel walked in. He looked at his sister sleeping on the couch and shook his head. Again he said with a small smile. I laughed softly. "She said she was going to stay awake this time." "Yeah, she says that every time." For a moment, we both just stood there looking at Emily. Then he sat down on the armchair across from me. That was the first time we had ever actually talked. Not just a quick hello. A real conversation. We started talking about the movie. Then about school. Then about music. And somehow, the conversation kept going. I don't even remember how long we talked. But I remember something strange happening inside my chest. Every time he smiled, my heart reacted in a way I couldn't explain. When he looked directly at me while talking, I suddenly forgot what I was going to say. I told myself it was just because he was older. Cooler. More confident. But deep down, I think I already knew the truth. Something had started that night. Something I didn't fully understand yet. From that day on, things felt different. I started noticing little things about him. The way he pushed his hair back when he was thinking. The way his voice softened when he talked about things he cared about. The way he laughed. And the worst part, I started looking for him every time I went to Emily's house. Without realizing it, I was hoping he would walk into the room. Just so I could see him. Just so I could hear him talk again. And that's when I realized something that scared me. I wasn't just visiting my best friend anymore. I was slowly, quietly, falling in love with her brother. And I had no idea how dangerous that secret would become. My best friend's brother was my secret love. After that night, I started noticing Daniel everywhere. Not in a strange way, but in the quiet way your heart begins to recognize someone. Every time I walked into Emily's house, my eyes would automatically look around the room, hoping to see him. Sometimes he wasn't there. And for some reason, those days felt a little disappointing. But when he was there, everything felt different. One Saturday afternoon, Emily and I were studying in the kitchen. Or at least, we were supposed to be studying. Emily was scrolling through her phone, and I was pretending to read my history notes. Then Daniel walked in. He opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, and leaned against the counter. "Shouldn't you two be studying?" he said with a small smirk. Emily rolled her eyes. "Relax. We have time." Then she looked at me. "Sarah, tell him we have time." I laughed nervously. "Yeah, we have time." Daniel looked at me for a second longer than usual. Not in a weird way. Just longer. Then he smiled slightly. "Sure you do." I quickly looked back down at my book. My heart had already started racing again. Later that evening, Emily's mom asked her to go with her to the grocery store. "Sarah, you can stay here," Emily said while grabbing her jacket. "We'll be back in like 20 minutes. I nodded. Okay. I didn't think much about it. Until the front door closed. And I realized something. I was alone in the house. With Daniel. He was in the living room watching TV when I walked in. I sat down on the opposite side of the couch, trying to act normal. For a few minutes, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't awkward exactly, but it wasn't comfortable either. Finally he muted the TV. "So," he said. "How's school going?" I shrugged. "Hard." He chuckled. "High school always feels like that." I looked at him. "You're saying it gets easier?" He shook his head. "No. I'm saying you just get used to it." I laughed. And somehow, the tension disappeared. We started talking again. Just like that night during the movie. About random things. School. Friends. Music. At one point he asked me something unexpected. "Why are you always so quiet?" I blinked. "Am I?" "Yeah," he said. "Most of the time you just listen." I thought about it for a moment. "I guess. I just don't like saying the wrong thing." He studied my face for a second. Then he said something that made my heart stop for a moment. "You never say the wrong thing." I looked up at him quickly. Our eyes met. And for a few seconds, neither of us looked away. That moment felt longer than it actually was. But something about it felt important. Like we had crossed a line that neither of us had noticed before. Then suddenly we heard the front door open. Emily's voice echoed through the house. We're back. We both quickly looked away. The moment disappeared as fast as it came. But my heart was still beating fast. Because deep down, I knew something had changed between us, something quiet. Something dangerous. And neither of us had said a word about it. Over the next few weeks, those small moments started happening more often. Little conversations. Longer eye contact. Small smiles that felt like secrets. Emily never noticed. At least, I thought she didn't. But one night, while we were getting ready for bed during a sleepover, she suddenly looked at me with a curious expression. And asked a question that made my stomach drop. "Sarah, do you think my brother is cute?" My best friend's brother was my secret love. When Emily asked me that question, my stomach dropped. I forced a casual laugh. I guess he's okay," I said, trying to sound indifferent. Emily tilted her head. "You're lying." I froze. My mind raced. How could I possibly answer that without revealing everything? She smirked. "I can tell. You always notice when he's around." I swallowed hard. "Maybe I do, sometimes," I admitted quietly. She laughed, clearly teasing me. "Sarah, don't tell me you've got a crush on my brother." I turned red. My heart was hammering. It's not like that," I stammered. Emily laughed again and shook her head. "You're terrible at lying." I wanted to disappear. My secret was teetering on the edge of being discovered. A few days later, the tension between Daniel and me grew stronger, though still unspoken. We would meet in the kitchen while Emily was distracted. We would laugh at inside jokes. Our hands would brush accidentally or maybe not accidentally. Every time, my heart skipped a beat. One Friday evening, Emily had gone out to meet a friend. I had come over to study. Daniel was sitting on the couch, reading something on his laptop. I sat across from him, pretending to focus on my own work. And then, he spoke. "You're different when she's not around," he said quietly. I looked up, startled. "What do you mean?" "Relaxed," he said, with that small smile that always made my heart race. "You're just you. Not worrying about anyone else." Something inside me stirred. And before I could think, I whispered, "I like being around you." The room went silent. He looked at me. Really looked at me. And for a moment, I thought he might say nothing. Then he leaned closer. "Me too," he said softly. It was just a whisper. But it felt like an explosion. Suddenly, the line we had been careful to respect vanished. It was as if the universe had finally admitted what my heart already knew. But just as quickly, I remembered Emily. What were we doing? This was her brother. My best friend. I wanted to pull back. I tried. But Daniel didn't move. He stayed close, as if he knew the same rules I did but didn't want to follow them. And then, it happened. A soft, accidental touch. Our hands brushed. It was electric. And in that instant, I realized. There was no going back. The next day, everything felt different. We acted normal when Emily was around. We laughed. We joked. We were just siblings and friends in public. But in private, everything had changed. Every glance, every smile, every word carried a weight. A secret weight. And soon, that secret would become dangerously hard to hide. Over the next few weeks, the tension between Daniel and me became almost unbearable. We were constantly aware of each other, even when Emily was around. Every accidental touch, every lingering look, every small smile felt like a secret language only we could understand. One Saturday evening, Emily had gone out with a group of friends. I had come over to study, and Daniel was, sitting in the living room, casually scrolling through his phone. I tried to focus on my homework. But it was impossible. Every time I looked up, he was there. Watching me. Smiling that half smile that made my heart race. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up, pretending to stretch, and accidentally bumped into him. His hand brushed mine. Electricity shot through me. We froze, staring at each other. And then, he whispered. "You're impossible to ignore." I couldn't help it. I leaned slightly closer. "I could say the same about you," I admitted. His smile widened. We were dangerously close now. Just inches apart. It was a quiet, heavy moment. The kind that makes your heart feel like it might explode. I knew we couldn't let it go any further. Emily was my best friend. And he was her brother. But as our eyes locked, the world outside the living room disappeared. Then something unexpected happened. Daniel leaned in slowly, just enough for me to feel his breath. And before I knew it, we kissed. It was soft, hesitant, but it felt like everything I had ever wanted at once. I pulled back immediately. We can't," I whispered, panic and desire mixing in my voice. Daniel shook his head, but his eyes were serious. "I know," he said. "But I can't help it." We both knew the truth. Our hearts had already decided. And there was no going back. The next day, Emily noticed something different. She asked casually, "Did something happen yesterday?" I froze. "Nothing," I said quickly, trying to sound convincing. But Emily's eyes were sharp. "Really, because Daniel seems different too." I swallowed hard. Could she already suspect something I didn't answer? I just smiled nervously. Inside, I knew our secret love was growing stronger. And soon. It wouldn't stay a secret much longer. Over the next few days, Emily's curiosity started to feel like a storm hovering over us. She was asking subtle questions. "Do you hang out with Daniel a lot? Does he ever notice small things about you?" Every time, I felt my chest tighten. I had to lie. I had to pretend that everything was normal. Pretend that Daniel was just her brother. But pretending was getting harder and harder. One evening, Daniel invited me to help him with a project in the garage. Emily was at a friend's house. The perfect cover. As soon as the door closed behind her, the air between us shifted. He was leaning over a blueprint, pretending to focus. But I could see him glancing at me from the corner of his eyes. I walked closer. "Do you need help?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He shook his head, but his hand brushed mine as he pointed to something on the table. My heart jumped. Every touch felt like fire. "Sarah," he said softly, almost a whisper, "do you think this is wrong?" I looked at him. "Wrong?" I echoed. He hesitated, his eyes searching mine. "I mean, us. Feeling like this." I felt my stomach twist. I had been asking myself the same question every day. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I can't stop thinking about you." He smiled, a mixture of relief and desire. We leaned closer, and for a long moment, the world outside the garage didn't exist. Suddenly, the sound of Emily's car pulling into the driveway made us jump apart. "Shit," I whispered. Daniel cursed under his breath. We quickly tried to act casual, but my hands were still trembling. Emily walked in, humming, completely unaware of the storm that had just passed in the garage. "Hey, what are you two doing?" she asked innocently. I forced a smile. "Just working on his project," I said. Daniel nodded, pretending nothing had happened. But deep down, we both knew that everything had changed. From that moment on, every meeting, every touch, every glance carried a new, unspoken tension. Our love was no longer just a secret crush, it was becoming something real, dangerous, and impossible to ignore. After that night in the garage, everything felt different. Even when Emily was around, Daniel and I couldn't hide it completely. The stolen glances, the accidental touches, even a simple brush of hands made our hearts race. Emily started noticing. It wasn't just little comments anymore. She would watch us more closely. Her smile seemed sharper, more knowing. Sometimes, she would say something that made my stomach drop. "Sarah, are you sure you like hanging out here just for homework?" I'd laugh nervously. Of course. I'd insist, though my heart was pounding. One evening, Daniel asked me to help him move some old boxes into the attic. Emily was out again. We were alone, and the air between us was thick with tension. As we climbed the narrow stairs, he suddenly stopped and leaned against the wall. "Sarah, I can't keep pretending anymore," he whispered. My hands shook. "Pretending what?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "Pretending that this us isn't real," he said. He stepped closer, and I could feel the heat from his body. I swallowed hard. "I know. I feel the same way," I admitted. For a long moment, we just looked at each other. The attic felt like a world of its own. Safe. Dangerous. Intimate. And then, he kissed me. It was slow, hesitant at first, but it deepened quickly. Every worry, every fear, every secret desire came rushing to the surface. I pulled back, breathless. "We can't," I whispered. "Emily, she's my best friend." Daniel shook his head. "I don't care," he said. "We can't stop this. Not now. Not ever." The next day, Emily started acting different. She asked more pointed questions. She would walk into the room and catch us looking at each other. Her intuition was sharp, and I knew she was getting closer to discovering the truth. And that terrified me. Because this love, this secret we were sharing, it wasn't just risky. It was explosive. One wrong move, one careless word, and everything, our friendship, our trust, our hearts, could come crashing down. The tension had been building for weeks, and I knew it was only a matter of time before Emily would notice something was wrong. It happened one rainy afternoon. Emily came home early from school. She was quiet, which was unusual. Her eyes darted around the living room, sharp and observant. "Sarah, can I ask you something?" she said, her voice calm but serious. I froze. Sure," I managed to reply. She sat down next to me on the couch. "I've noticed, you and Daniel have been acting weird lately." My heart skipped a beat. I forced a laugh. "Weird how?" Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You know exactly what I mean." I swallowed hard. She was right. There was no way I could lie anymore. That evening, Daniel came over under the guise of helping Emily with homework. As soon as he stepped inside, our eyes met. A mix of fear and longing danced between us. Emily was hovering nearby, pretending to work on a project, but she kept glancing at us. I could feel her suspicion growing with every second. Then, she dropped the bomb. "You two are hiding something," she said flatly. I froze. Daniel's hand brushed mine under the table. I looked at him. His eyes pleaded with me to stay calm. I don't know what you mean," I said, trying to sound convincing. Emily laughed softly, but it wasn't cheerful. "Stop lying, Sarah. I've known for weeks. The way you look at him, the way he looks at you. It's obvious." My stomach dropped. Everything was unraveling. Daniel stood slowly. "Emily, it's not like we planned it," he said quietly. "We didn't mean for it to happen. But it did." Emily stared at us, her expression unreadable. "Sarah, Daniel, you need to stop pretending this is normal," she said. "You're my best friend, and he's my brother. Do you even realize how messed up this is?" I felt tears prick my eyes. "I know it's complicated," I whispered. "But we can't help how we feel." Daniel nodded. "Emily, I care about Sarah. I can't ignore it anymore." The room was silent. The rain outside tapping against the window sounded louder than usual. Emily finally let out a sigh. "You two are impossible," she said, half laughing, half exasperated. "Just, don't ruin everything. That's all I'm asking." At that moment, I realized something important. Emily wasn't angry. She wasn't trying to punish us. She was scared of how this could affect our friendship. And in a strange way, that gave me hope. Because if Emily could accept it even partially, maybe, just maybe, Daniel and I could navigate this love without losing everything. But little did I know, that navigating it would soon become far more complicated than either of us imagined. After Emily's confrontation, Daniel and I made an unspoken agreement: our love would stay a secret for now. We met in hidden corners of the house. We sent each other texts that we deleted immediately. Every stolen moment felt dangerous, yet thrilling. One evening, Daniel invited me to the park near our neighborhood. Emily was at a late study session at school, giving us the perfect cover. We walked slowly, hands brushing, pretending nothing was happening. "I can't believe we're doing this," I whispered. Daniel smiled. "Doing what?" he asked, teasingly. "Meeting in secret, like teenagers in a romance movie," I said, trying to lighten the tension. He laughed softly, then grabbed my hand fully, holding it tightly. "I don't care if it's risky. I care about you." My heart swelled. Hearing him say those words made everything worth it. We sat on a bench, talking for hours. About dreams. About school. About silly childhood memories. Every laugh, every glance, every accidental touch felt electric. And then he leaned closer. "Sarah. I can't stop thinking about us," he admitted quietly. "I know it's complicated, but I need you to know I'm not afraid of how I feel." I smiled, tears brimming in my eyes. "Daniel. I feel the same way. But I'm scared," I whispered. He cupped my face gently. "I know. But we'll figure it out, together." It was the first time we really said it out loud. Clear. Unmistakable. We kissed, this time with no hesitation. With no fear of what might happen next. But even as we reveled in this new closeness, Emily remained in the back of my mind. She was observant. She was smart. She could piece things together faster than we realized. And one day, she did. A text from her appeared on my phone: "We need to talk. Tonight." alone. My stomach sank. I knew it was coming. Daniel held my hand. "We'll face it together," he said softly. I nodded, knowing our secret love was about to be put to the ultimate test. That evening, my heart was pounding as I waited for Emily to arrive. She came in quietly, her expression unreadable. I could feel Daniel tense beside me. We had no idea what she was thinking or how she would react. Emily sat down, crossing her arms. "Sarah." "Daniel." "I know everything," she said calmly, but her eyes were sharp. I froze. Daniel's hand found mine under the table, gripping tightly. Emily continued, "I know about the kisses. I know about the secret meetings. I know everything." I swallowed hard. "Emily, we didn't mean for it to happen," I whispered. "It just did." Daniel nodded, looking at her seriously. "We care about each other. We didn't plan it, but it's real." Emily's expression softened slightly, but there was still concern in her eyes. "I get that you like each other, but do you even realize how complicated this is?" Tears stung my eyes. "I know. I know it's wrong in a way, but my heart doesn't care," I admitted. She sighed and leaned back. "I don't want to lose either of you, but you have to promise me one thing." I looked at her, anxious. "What?" I asked. "Promise me you'll be careful. That this doesn't ruin our friendship, or anything else. You two have something real. But real isn't always safe." Daniel and I exchanged glances, both silently agreeing. "We promise," he said firmly. "We'll figure this out, together." For the first time, I felt a weight lift from my chest. Emily wasn't angry. She understood, even if it wasn't easy. Her acceptance didn't make things simple, but it made them possible. That night, Daniel and I held hands under the stars, knowing the journey ahead would be difficult. We had a secret love, dangerous and forbidden, yet undeniably real. And even though the path was uncertain, we were ready to face it together. The weeks that followed were some of the happiest and most terrifying of my life. Daniel and I were careful, but our love had grown too strong to hide completely. Every glance, every touch, every whispered word carried the weight of our secret. We found small moments alone, late night talks in the garage, secret messages left in books, quiet walks around the neighborhood. Each moment felt like a stolen treasure, a piece of happiness we had to protect at all costs. But happiness never comes without challenges. One afternoon, Emily invited Daniel to help her with a school project, and I tagged along. At first, everything was normal. We laughed. We studied. We acted like siblings and friends in public. Then, out of nowhere, Emily's friend Mia walked in. Mia was sharp, observant, and a little nosy. She looked at Daniel and me with a knowing smile. "Are you two together?" she asked casually, as if it were obvious. I froze. Daniel tensed beside me. Emily gave Mia a sharp glance. "Excuse me," she said. Mia shrugged. "Just saying. I've seen the way you two look at each other." My heart was racing. Daniel squeezed my hand under the table. I could feel his grip telling me, "Stay calm." Emily's face turned a little red. "Sarah, Daniel, you better not be doing anything stupid," she said firmly. But I could see a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. After Mia left, Daniel and I stepped outside, both of us shaking from adrenaline. "We're lucky she didn't figure it out fully," I whispered. Daniel pulled me close. "I don't care who knows. I care about us, he said softly. I smiled, feeling my heart swell. I care too. But we have to be smart. Emily's our friend, and I don't want to hurt her. We kissed gently, letting the quiet night absorb the tension. It was dangerous, yes. Forbidden, yes. But also real. And for the first time, I realized, love this strong is worth the risk. Our secret was no longer just a crush, no longer just hidden glances. It had become a bond. A commitment. We would face every obstacle, suspicion, judgment, fear together. Because in the end, love like this is rare, and I wasn't going to let it go. The weeks that followed were some of the happiest and most terrifying of my life. Daniel and I were careful, but our love had grown too strong to hide completely. Every glance, every touch, every whispered word carried the weight of our secret. We found small moments alone, late night talks in the garage, secret messages left in books, quiet walks around the neighborhood. Each moment felt like a stolen treasure, a piece of happiness we had to protect at all costs. But happiness never comes without challenges. One afternoon, Emily invited Daniel to help her with a school project, and I tagged along. At first, everything was normal. We laughed. We studied. We acted like siblings and friends in public. Then, out of nowhere, Emily's friend Mia walked in. Mia was sharp, observant, and a little nosy. She looked at Daniel and me with a knowing smile. "Are you two together?" she asked casually, as if it were obvious. I froze. Daniel tensed beside me. Emily gave Mia a sharp glance. "Excuse me," she said. Mia shrugged. "Just saying. I've seen the way you two look at each other." My heart was racing. Daniel squeezed my hand under the table. I could feel his grip telling me, "Stay calm." Emily's face turned a little red. "Sarah, Daniel, you better not be doing anything stupid," she said firmly. But I could see a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. After Mia left, Daniel and I stepped outside, both of us shaking from adrenaline. "We're lucky she didn't figure it out fully," I whispered. Daniel pulled me close. "I don't care who knows. I care about us," he said softly. I smiled, feeling my heart swell. "I care too. But we have to be smart. Emily's our friend, and I don't want to hurt her." We kissed gently, letting the quiet night absorb the tension. It was dangerous, yes. Forbidden, yes. But also real. And for the first time, I realized, love this strong is worth the risk. Our secret was no longer just a crush, no longer just hidden glances. It had become a bond. A commitment. We would face every obstacle, suspicion, judgment, fear together. Because in the end, love like this is rare. And I wasn't going to let it go. The weeks that followed were some of the happiest and most terrifying of my life. Daniel and I were careful, but our love had grown too strong to hide completely. Every glance, every touch, every whispered word carried the weight of our secret. We found small moments alone, late night talks in the garage, secret messages left in books, quiet walks around the neighborhood. Each moment felt like a stolen treasure, a piece of happiness we had to protect at all costs. But happiness never comes without challenges. One afternoon, Emily invited Daniel to help her with a school project, and I tagged along. At first, everything was normal. We laughed. We studied. We acted like siblings and friends in public. Then, out of nowhere, Emily's friend Mia walked in. Mia was sharp, observant, and, a little nosy. She looked at Daniel and me with a knowing smile. "Are you two together?" she asked casually, as if it were obvious. I froze. Daniel tensed beside me. Emily gave Mia a sharp glance. "Excuse me," she said. Mia shrugged. "Just saying. I've seen the way you two look at each other." My heart was racing. Daniel squeezed my hand under the table. I could feel his grip telling me, "Stay calm." Emily's face turned a little red. "Sarah, Daniel, you better not be doing anything stupid," she said firmly. But I could see a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. After Mia left, Daniel and I stepped outside, both of us shaking from adrenaline. "We're lucky she didn't figure it out fully," I whispered. Daniel pulled me close. "I don't care who knows. I care about us," he said softly. I smiled, feeling my heart swell. "I care too. But we have to be smart. Emily's our friend, and I don't want to hurt her." We kissed gently, letting the quiet night absorb the tension. It was dangerous, yes. Forbidden, yes. But also real. And for the first time, I realized, love this strong is worth the risk. Our secret was no longer just a crush, no longer just hidden glances. It had become a bond. A commitment. We would face every obstacle, suspicion, judgment, fear together. Because in the end, love like this is rare. And I wasn't going to let it go. The following week brought the kind of tension that could break hearts. Emily had been acting slightly distant, more serious than usual. I knew she was processing everything, the secret she had learned, our love, and the new dynamic between us. Daniel and I tried to act normal, but every glance at each other reminded us of the stakes. Then it happened. Emily asked to speak with me alone in her bedroom. My stomach sank. I knew this could be the moment everything changed. "Sarah," she began, sitting on her bed, her voice calm but firm. "I need to know, is this really serious between you two, or is it just a fling?" I took a deep breath. "It's serious, Emily. I love him," I said softly. She studied me, her eyes searching for any hint of doubt. "I can see that," she said finally. "And I want to support you both. But you need to promise me no secrets anymore. No lying. You two can't ruin what we have as friends, or what's important to this family." Tears welled up in my eyes. "I promise," I whispered. That night, Daniel came over as usual. He took my hand and pulled me into the living room, where the lights were dim. "We told Emily everything," he said softly. "I think she understands, at least, she's trying." I nodded, my heart racing. "We have to be careful. But maybe, we can finally be a little more open about us," I said. He smiled, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "Together, nothing can stop us," he whispered. We kissed slowly, letting the moment sink in. The fear, the secrecy, the tension, it all felt worth it now. Because we were together. And even with the risk, even with the complications, it was real. From that night on, our love grew stronger. Every obstacle, every challenge, every stolen glance only made us more certain of each other. Emily still teased us, watched us, made sure we didn't go too far, but we knew she had accepted us. And that acceptance gave us courage. Because sometimes, the greatest love stories are the ones that survive the impossible. The ones that start in secrecy, but blossom in truth. And ours had just begun. The weeks turned into months, and Daniel and I had found a fragile balance. Emily had accepted our love, though she still teased us endlessly and made sure we didn't take our secrecy too far. It was awkward at times, but it worked. We learned to cherish the moments we had: quiet nights, secret walks, and long conversations that stretched into the early hours. One evening, Daniel invited me to the park where we had our first secret date. It was raining lightly, the scent of wet grass filling the air. "Do you remember the first time we came here?" he asked, holding my hand. I smiled. Of course. I was terrified. And you were calm. Too calm. He laughed softly. I was just trying not to freak out. But I knew then. I didn't want to be anywhere else but with you. We sat on the same bench, side by side, our hands entwined. "I never thought love could feel like this," I whispered. "Exciting, dangerous, but also safe. When I'm with you, I feel at home." Daniel smiled, leaning closer. "Me too. And I promise, no matter what happens, we'll face it together." That night, as the rain fell softly around us, I realized how far we had come. From stolen glances to whispered confessions, from secret kisses to accepted love, we had navigated a minefield of emotions, risks, and secrets. And we were still standing. Because real love wasn't just about feelings. It was about courage. About trust. About fighting for something that mattered, even when it seemed impossible. As we walked back home, Daniel's arm around me, I knew one thing for certain: I had fallen in love with my best friend's brother. And it had been the most terrifying, exciting, and beautiful journey of my life. The secret was no longer a burden. It was a bond. A love that had survived everything and would continue to grow, no matter what came next.